Hello survivors, and thank you for joining me for today's video. This is a video that I have been wanting to make for a very long time. Quite often the Dino Lord and I will be sat down and one of us will just say, oh, do you remember when this happened on ARK? And then that's it, then we go on a tangent and we remember a certain incident that happened or an event that happened, and we just reminisce about this game all the time, and we're constantly creating new memories on it too. And I'm pretty sure if any of you are watching, you've probably done the same thing. There is nothing quite like ARK, I've said it before. You can play as many survival games as you want, but nothing gives you quite the experience and the feeling that ARK does. I mean, I remember just the other night that the Dino Lord had a second job on ARK. So what happened, he went over to Aberration just to learn some engrams. This was in the early days, we only really had ever been to the island. So he went over there, didn't realise that once you're there, you're kind of stuck there. You know, there is no real way off unless you find a drop, which we didn't even know about either. But he was looking for an obelisk to get off the map and he just couldn't. So he wrote in the chat, help. And someone replied with, do you want off the map? Because clearly they'd had people come on and do the same thing in the past, you know. And he's like, yes, please. So this guy came and picked him up on a rock drake and took him to the nearest drop to help him off the map. And while they were doing this, he got talking with this guy. This guy was a trader. And he had all kinds of colourful dinos and stuff. And the Dino Lord was like, well, we don't really have much, so I don't know how I would pay for it. And he's like, oh, well, you can come and work with me at the forges. So he'd come home from his actual job in real life. He'd get on his hazard suit and he'd be down in the bioluminescent area. He had to wear a hazard suit because his health was so low that he just kept on burning to death from being around so many forges that were on all the time. But yeah, they were doing the crab and the Yankee metal technique. And then he'd go and work down the forges mining metal. I don't think there's many other games that'll give you memories like that, to be honest. If any of you've got a weird memory like that, let us know. We got some mean dinosaurs out of that as well. His work really did pay off, like, you know. So I know there are other good survival games. I mean, you've got like Fallout, okay? You've got No Man's Sky, great survival games. But you can't live with your tribe mates. You can't sort of all share that little intimate area and be like a family there. Whereas in this game, you can. And then, I know you've got like Conan and Citadel and stuff. However, there's no dinosaurs, is there? Get some dinosaurs and I'll play you more. You know what I mean? I know Citadel to an extent, they have like creatures that you can ride and stuff, and they do have like kind of tames and things, but it just doesn't work the same as it does in ARK. Take for instance the fact that you can breed your dinos, and you can breed for mutations so that you can have super dinos. You kind of need to really to take on the bosses in ARK. Nothing has the mechanics that ARK does with these creatures. So obviously, first thing you've got to love about this over other survival games is the dinosaurs, and the way that they've been created. I know on some last gen consoles they look a bit rough, they're really rough, to be honest. I mean, sometimes they won't render in at all, they'll just look like triangles, you know. But if you play it on a good day, or if you play it on like the current gen consoles or on PC, it's freaking phenomenal, the detail that you see on these. Sometimes I'll just sit and stare at a trike for ages. It sounds nuts, but I do, because I just love the amount of detail that's gone into each creature, and also each creature having its own mechanics and its own reason for being in the game as well. I think they've done a fantastic job. Speaking of the developers, they were a small team. I know sometimes we have issues, we get a lot of lag, we get a lot of glitches and bugs, and it is frustrating at times, and you can see why people would be annoyed. However, I've said it before, it's because we're so passionate about this game that it makes us really annoyed when something like that happens. We're living pretty much a second life on ARK. There's not many games that you can do that in. You know, I know a lot of games you can just sort of take your mind off the day, and you know, if you've had a stressful time, you can take your mind off it, or you can just sort of escape for a bit into it. However, with ARK, it's a bit different because you are kind of living a second life. That's how I see it anyway. I know I am, and I'm sure plenty of you are. Let me know in the comments if you're the same. And so when something does go wrong, it's hard not to get really frustrated. I remember one event, it was an Extra Life event. There was about 5 of us, and we'd been saving up these Giga babies. We'd been making broths of enlightenment, and we were waiting for the Extra Life so that we could slaughter all the Gigas and get loads of XP and get all of our levels. And then when the event came round, we couldn't even get onto our server to get them. We just spent the time on the home screen, and we were pretty devastated. I was really angry, and so I can understand why people would get angry, because when things go wrong you do get upset. But you've got to remember, yeah, they were a small team when they first started, and it's still running on the same engine, you know. They can't change that, and they can only do what they can do to keep it running as best they can. And I think they do a fantastic job of it, to be honest. If you look at Twitter, Cedric, the community development manager, he is always in there chatting to me. He takes a lot of shit off people. He really does, and he still pushes on, and he still listens to what people have to say, and he still interacts and answers questions. He's always there helping people out. And there is hardly any other game developer that you could mention that does that sort of thing. I mean, if you do know of any, let me know, but I really have never seen anything like this. And I think the community in ARK is more passionate than most game communities. Much more passionate, to be honest, but because, face it, we've got a lot more hours into ARK than what we've got into any other game. I know the Dino Lord and myself certainly do, and I know a lot of other people who have many more than us even as well. So while we're on the subject of the developers, these guys have released to us so many free DLCs. I know we've had to pay for the main story ones, fair enough, but the amount of free content we've got with this game is insane. I've heard people calling them greedy developers, and I just think that's nuts. Like, when you look at most developers these days, other than From Software, who do the Dark Souls games and Elden Ring and Bloodborne and that, they're the only other developer pretty much, I believe, that hasn't added like a Game Pass, microtransactions. These guys have just steered clear of it, and they could have made so much money. Like, they really could have made so much. I would have bought this, every DLC I would have paid for it. 100%. Dino Lord would have. We've got friends who definitely would have as well. And also, when it comes to microtransactions, imagine the money they could have made. Do you know, like, when a Rex BP used to be so hard to get, you'd have to like borrow one off someone on the server, or you'd have to like lend yours out, and you were so scared of bringing it to someone's base in case it went missing or they managed to get it and keep it somehow. And you were so scared, and it was so hard to trust because that thing meant so much to you. And people were buying them for real money. There's a black market for ARK. There's a huge black market for ARK. I mean, oh my god, okay, so someone is trying to sell. So you know the Dino Lord made the top start Megalania on official servers, yeah? Well, Dan sent him this a link, and he said, look what's been happening. And somebody had been selling his Megalania on eBay for like £4 something or something like that. And he was just like, what is happening here? So yeah, a lot of people are making a lot of money selling stuff from ARK. So imagine if the developers had done that themselves, selling BPs, mutated dinos, mats, you know, polymer and stuff. Like, they could have made a mint. They could have made a mint. I would have so been tempted to buy Element or something like that. Definitely Saddle BPs, if they'd have included that in the game. So yeah, I think fair play to them. I know you might say they shouldn't be praised for not having microtransactions in the game, when games shouldn't really be having that anyway. However, they do. Most games these days come with microtransactions, battle passes, all that shit. And I, for one, am not keen on that sort of thing, so I think they deserve high praise for not being tempted down the dark path that so many developers are going down these days. And have been for a while, to be honest. So another thing about ARK that I love, more things I love about ARK, is how emotional I get over this game. I don't know about you guys, but I have cried because of ARK. I remember the first time I cried because of ARK. I'm not sure if I've mentioned this in a previous video or not, I don't know, but I lost our one and only Rex, and if you remember back in the day on official, I mean everything's 2 times now, so it was on single times, and you know how much things mean to you when you play official. Things are so hard to get, it's so grindy, and when you've got them, you get so much game fear because you do not want to lose them. You're shitting yourself every time you do something because you're like, oh god, I don't want to lose this, you know, it's taking me ages to get this. And the Dino Lord had gone to sleep one night and I'd stayed up and done a meat run. You're going to think I'm proper stupid now, yeah, but I was on a meat run and the Rex was like killing everything, obviously. It always just kills everything. I'd never come across a Giga or anything, I never went that far. However, a Titanosaur had spawned on the beach, and I thought, well, it kills everything else well easy, so that thing is going to feed us for days. And I tried to kill a Titanosaur with a Rex. It didn't go well, obviously, as you can imagine, and I was actually crying. And the Dino Lord felt so bad for me the next day. And there's been other times as well where I've got really emotional over ARK. It's just one of those games. I've never felt like this about a game before, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are probably the same. Let me know if you are, or if I'm just a bit fanboy and a bit pathetic. A lot of people call it the best worst game because it's so fantastic, it sucks you in, the mechanics are amazing, it just doesn't run very well all of the time. And so that is, you know, obviously one of those big issues that we all get upset about. But overall, I've never played a game that has made me feel this way. The memories that the Dino Lord and I have created over the years playing this game and are continuing to do and the friends we've made, the people that we've met. I mean, there's other games like I've met people through playing like Dark Souls online and stuff, and kind of stayed in touch and played like the later games with them, but it's not the same. Like, I'll never forget the guy who took us to our first boss fight. Okay, so one day I'd come home from being out somewhere and the Dino Lord was playing ARK, and he goes, I think I'm being done over here. And I said, what do you mean? And he was at someone's base where they had this huge giga farm, and there was like a load of them all standing around him, talking to him in the text chat. And what he'd done, he'd put in chat, is there any new players in need of tames? So he'd had a reply saying, yes, we're new. So he went over to the base, and it was like stuff like, our first sort of ever Dodec that we tamed, and we didn't want to throw it away. We thought someone might make use of it. So he threw it out there. It turned up there first, right? And he was like, these aren't new. They had like Reapers and Gigas and stuff. And he was like, what is going on here? So then like, show us what you've got then. So he thought, right, I'll play along. So he threw out his Dodec, and they were like, oh, sweet, a Dodec. I'd love to have one of those. And you could see a Dodec over in the corner with a love heart on its head. Like, so it was like mate boosted as well. And he was like, well, I can see one over there. So whatever. And, he played along with them, and they ended up having quite a bit of a laugh, and they gave him some like cakes and a bright green Reaper that he called David Shawbrook. He ended up becoming quite good friends with one of them, and his name was Jimmy. Now, Jimmy took us to our first boss, and I remember he was so mysterious. He was like our hero, and he'd go like, we do monkey tonight, and we'd be like, oh, sweet, this guy is badass, like, and we'll never forget Jimmy. We stayed in touch with him for quite a while, actually, but I'm not sure if he still plays anymore. Also, like, our neighbours that we had on the island, they were like an older couple I think they were in their 60s or 70s, and they were amazing, and we actually ended up sharing a base with them on Genesis when that first came out as well, and we had just a blast with them. We hosted like a birthday party for the Dino Lord, and Jimmy came, and so did they. They'd all brought him like birthday presents and stuff as well, and it was just the cutest, most wholesome thing. I mean, we gave Jimmy a beer, he actually downed that, he got naked, and he was crawling all over the drum kit, and, there's always one, isn't there? We've had so much fun on this, like so much fun. And then obviously we met Warren and the gang, so Warren, Stephen and Andrew, and you'll probably remember them from our videos.
You just gonna leave your door open, Warren?
Yeah, it's fine. What are they gonna steal my...
Your wife, Warren. Your wife?
Yes, your wife. Come back to close it, come back to close it.
Is somebody keeping shit? There's a shit in the storage box.
So yeah, as you can see, we've had a lot of fun with these guys. And I'm sure you guys have probably met some amazing people. Obviously, you get your trolls and stuff, and if you watched my Fjorda video about the toxic release of Fjorda, there was a lot of shit going on there that wasn't very nice at all. It put me off the map, to be honest, and it's a really nice map, but yeah, there was a lot of crap going on there. But if you want to know my issues with that, check out this video here. Yeah, we've met people from Australia. When we did the King Titan fight, we had to team up with them. We had to take shifts taming the Titans, because obviously they're on completely different time zones to us. So, like, we'd go and tame one Titan, and then we'd go to sleep, and while we were sleeping, they'd go and tame another Titan, and we were able to do another one together. And then we went and defeated the Alpha King Titan with them, and it was just such an awesome experience. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that quite often we'll have our friend from real life, Dan, with us as well, and it's been such an awesome experience having a real life friend come on and play the game with us. Didn't come on until we started playing it on the Xbox Series X, and he came over and seen us playing Gen 2, and we had like the tech suits and stuff, and he was like, whoa, that looks amazing. So luckily he finally got into it after years of us nagging him to play it, and now he plays with us, which is just brilliant. So I've just had a message, okay? I'm going to have to let you guys know about this. So one of our other real life friends has just joined us playing on Mango Nation. And I've just had a message from him telling me, we have like a little box where we put gifts in for each other, yeah? And he's just told me that he's put some of his own poo in the box for the Dino Lord. So, yeah, that is what we're dealing with at the moment. So talking about playing on other servers and other modes and stuff, it's like every time that you do, like we would play PvP, we'd go on to like unofficial and play some PvP, we'd play some Fibercraft or Naked Zombos PvP, and we'd have a great time, and it always feels like you're playing a new game again, except you know the mechanics. But it's like a new, fresh experience every time. I also tried some roleplay servers. I did like a Game of Thrones one on PC once. I also went and did a Syntax server as well at one time for a bit, and that was fantastic too. And then we went to Prim Plus, as you've seen recently, and once again it was a whole new experience, and it was so much fun that we went over to Mango Nation and tried their regular servers, and we are still playing on them now. We're having an absolute blast. And we like a fresh start. We like starting with nothing and working our way up. We do like early game. You've probably heard me say it before. I love early game. And the Dino Lord does too. We like that challenge. Because sometimes, you know, when you've done like everything, you completed every boss, you kind of feel like, oh, what do I do now? I mean, you could sit around and raise dinos, I suppose. Or you could start a new character, which we actually did do on official as well. And try and work them up through the bosses and get them all of the ascensions as well. And so now we are playing a lot of Mango Nation. And because it's slightly modded and the building, you can like mesh things slightly and stuff, you know, there's it makes for a lot more interesting, intricate builds. So the Dino Lord is absolutely loving that. And then obviously it's 20 times, so sort of it's not too grindy. And so every time we go and play one of these new modes or something, it just renews our love for the game. Same when a new DLC comes out. Sometimes you'll be like flagging a little bit and you'll be like, oh, I'm getting a little bit tired of ARK. You'll start playing some other games and stuff. Next minute, boom, new ARK DLC or new creature or something. It sucks you right back into the game again. And The Witcher never gets finished. You never complete that. That's my story anyway. The amount of times I've gone and played The Witcher and then ARK have released some new content, The Witcher just never gets finished. I'm not sure if it ever will, to be honest with you. But yeah, that is my love letter to ARK. I'd love to know if you guys feel the same. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please think about leaving a like and maybe subscribe for more of our ARK content. So me, the Dino Lord, and Dan were taking a piss the other day out of channels that go like, smash that subscribe button and do something weird with the like button and hit that notification bell. And Dan just came out and said this.
Get the bell on.
And so I'm going to use that on every video because it's so fucking weird and awesome and it just came out of nowhere. So yeah, get used to it because I think it's here to stay. See you soon, guys. Have a great day. Take care. And remember,
get the bell on.